The bill needed to have significant deficit reduction as well. So will these freshmen acquiesce to Geithner's budgetary bullying, or will they stick to the Tea Party mandate of reining in government spending? Here now is someone who was in that room with Secretary Geithner, Oklahoma Republican Congressman James Lankford. Congressman Lankford, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Honored to be with you, Judge.
Thank you. So did Professor Geithner persuade you that you should let him go out into the financial markets and borrow another $2.4 trillion on top of the $14.3 trillion we already owe and have no ability to pay back?
You know what? The Secretary continued to reinforce something that just showed the differences. We keep talking about debt reduction and going after debt. He keeps talking about deficit reduction. He doesn't see an issue with continuing to add on more debt year after year after year and continuing to have deficits every single year. He just wants to get the deficit smaller. We're trying to go after $14.3 trillion in debt and to start working that down.
Did he express any concern that the amount of debt that we will have if you let him borrow the $2.4 trillion will be such an enormous percentage of our gross national product, so much of the tax revenue will be paid on debt service that it will actually make us poorer rather than richer, that it may bring us closer to bankruptcy rather than prosperity? Does he understand that argument?
No, he is absolutely talking about doing some spending cuts, but doing very small spending cuts over the course of the next 10 years and increasing taxes immediately to try to get this accomplished. And that has been the president's position. It is what the secretary reinforced again and again and again. We have to increase taxes now and then cut spending gradually over the next 10 years. And that is the same thing that's not worked year after year. It is add more taxes now and then push the pain off to some future Congress for them to be able to cut spending. And that does not work and never happens.
Congressman Lankford, would you let the many good folks who watch Freedom Watch that are watching you now sleep well tonight by saying definitively that an increase in taxes is dead on arrival in the House of Representatives?
An increase in taxes is dead on arrival in the House of Representatives. There is no way we're going to try to go after it. I have never said to a single boss in my life, I ran up a big credit card bill back at home, so you need to give me a raise to help me pay for it. He would have laughed me out of the room. He'd have said, go get your house in order before you come asking me for a raise. And I don't think that's right for the American people to come to them and say, you need to give us a raise because we've been so responsible with your money. It's the wrong way to go.
Now, Congressman Lankford, you make what I think is a great argument for sound money, for a sound dollar, and for living within your means. Do all of your fellow Republicans agree with you, or should I worry, and the Freedom Watch folks worry, about whether the leadership of the Republicans in the House will cut a deal with Professor Geithner and try and talk the rest of you into letting him borrow away?
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. The leadership's done a good job with us. We have been very clear back to them to say this is a pivotal moment in American history. We have increased the debt ceiling 70 times in American history, 70 times. It's obvious we really don't have a debt ceiling in America. So whatever happens in the next couple of months, we better start working on fixing the problems. One of my other freshmen today said to Secretary Geithner, we did not make this mess as freshmen. We understand that, but we do understand what this mess is. And it's not some mess that we can fix immediately, but it's also not something that's going to be repaired by just jacking up the debt again.
Here's something that I want to explore with you, Congressman Lankford, and I've heard it from whispered by Democrats and I've heard it from Republicans. Let the president and the Treasury Secretary borrow the $2.4 trillion now, and you alluded to this a few minutes ago, Congressman. We'll approve some spending cuts in the future. Isn't that just a canard, just a joke? Because this Congress cannot control what future Congresses will do, and this president cannot control what he's going to do in another year, much less what his successors might do.
I can tell you he hasn't been clear on what he's going to do 2 weeks from now, much less what's going to happen 2 years from now. And in reality, what we would say is some future spending cuts we'll put in place but raise taxes now would be we don't have the courage to do something now. We hope the American people elect someone with courage next time. That's not what has occurred this time.
All right,
we're going to try to take this on and say we've got to do immediate spending cuts.
Switching topics to your meeting yesterday. Today you met with Secretary Geithner. Yesterday you met with the president. Paul Ryan stood up and defended the Republican proposal to get us off of this bankrupt system called Medicare that we're now in, and you all gave Paul Ryan a standing ovation, and I would have done so had I been there with you. What was the look on the president's face when Congressman Ryan, and not him, got the standing ovation?
Well, let me give you a little thing that I picked up from the president. The president seems to, when he's comfortable with an answer, he's real short with it. When he's nervous, he talks on and on and on with an answer. Just kind of watch that in town hall meetings. With most everyone, he answered the question in about 3 or 4 minutes. When Congressman Ryan asked the question, it took him 10, 15, 20 minutes. It was a long answer, and he just kept going on and on in circles. And that tells me he was a little nervous in the process of trying to respond to this question. In reality, what Congressman Ryan was trying to say was, you have been mischaracterizing, and you've done it deliberately. If you need an explanation in person with what our proposal is, let me give you that explanation. He was very kind about it. He wasn't rude about it, but he was like, you've been saying vouchers. You know it's not vouchers. You know it's premium support. You know this is even something that was talked about in the Clinton administration about dealing with the premium support. It's not some new radical concept. It's dealing with what you know is a reality of what's happening with entitlements. You can't do a little bit there. We've got to radically reform it to save it, or else it's going to be gone.
Boy, we only have a few seconds left. It sounds to me as if the president doesn't have any better understanding of debt and its pernicious effect on our economy than his Treasury Secretary does. Would I be right in coming to that conclusion?
Well, here's what we feel like it is. We feel like we think we have a debt crisis. They think we have a debt ceiling crisis. And that if we just get through this, we'll be fine, and we'll just keep on adding more debt. It's not a big issue. We're saying this is not a debt ceiling crisis. This is a debt crisis, and we've got to deal with this.
Got it. Congressman James Lankford.